Well, thank you. This has been a crazy week, and we've got a lot of really important stuff to talk about today. Even got a little surprise for you at the end. I think that we're all going to learn a little bit something today, whether or not you are a willing participant. But if you're listening, you're probably going to learn something.
Are we going to sing or anything like that I should have known about?
No. Okay. This is that whole equation that I gave you the other day.
Got it.
I sent it telepathically to you.
Okay.
Welcome to Tug of Heart. Thank you. We're hosted by Strong Island Entertainment, and we're happy to have this platform to sort through and sift through and dispose of all of the things or some of the things that challenge us. My twin sister Lori and myself are hoping that this is beneficial. And again, as I always say, we're not the authority. These are just topics for consideration. Strong Island has been hosting this now for a bit, and I'm going to say, only because I was not here at its origination, that Tug of Heart came about as a method, a way to combat a lot of mixed up feelings. Those of you who have listened consistently are familiar with my nephew Seth and his battle, his fight, his noble triumph, even in his passing. His strength and his legacy is just remarkable. Last week was a little bit tough, and on the 12th, 5 days ago, was the 1-year anniversary. And I intended to read you a little something I wrote for Seth last week, but myself, I was sick, and Lori wasn't feeling well. You can just imagine, it was crazy. But I tell you all of this because it's leading up to what we're going to talk about today, which is relationship gratitude. But before I do that, I'm going to take this minute and just kind of acknowledge Seth. He is definitely the backbone of this podcast. On November 12th, 2020, my nephew Seth passed away. And on the 12th of this year, I meant to read you this. Today we begin the timeless tradition of recognizing the passing of a loved one. Today we gather in customary fashion with love and warmth for the parents and extended family that we've come to know. Thank you all for attending. No more will Seth's high ambition be witnessed, and no longer will Seth's angelic voice reach our ears with new stories. What remains is the experience of knowing this young man and the indelible letters, syllables, and marks upon the trestle boards of our lives. I knew Seth as a person free of sin and unique in that he was a disciple of living as God intended us to live, well and with enthusiasm for life's offerings. Seth's steady conformity to the useful regulations of love, life, and challenge remain good and great for all of us to remember. Give nothing any more than its due. I won't ignore Seth's autism. No. Let's praise it. The strides that lead to huge milestones he did, which revealed character and enchanted those that met him. Seth was not simply captivating, he was penetrating as well. And when I say penetrating, I'm asking, who among us can't remember his voice and his zest for the day? DIPG is what ultimately took my nephew. Clandestine in every way, remove Seth's vessel, but not Seth's spirit. stricken from life while youth and promise only asked for a new day. Never acquainted with hatred, anger, or grudges, Seth remained without stains. Death was untimely and yet perfect because it guaranteed everlasting life. Seth's benevolence, each of you listening is encouraged to emulate and teach when possible. Let us remember and imitate the celebrated artist, the little boy that we've come to know as Seth. Thank you. Lori, I'm so sorry. Before we even begin, I got to tell you, I haven't got any words. I just haven't. I love you, and I'm so sorry for the loss. I literally I'm broken. I'm broken, but I'm happy. I'm happy for the days that you did get, and I'm happy that you were so wise to acknowledge and to understand how fragile things are, and you just absolutely, you just made an amazing example of what can be done, because there are many people that will never live and never love like you did in such a short time. So I love you. And with that, let's move to relationship gratitude. Give nothing any more time than it's due.
That's right. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. And it just gave me all the notes I'll need to talk about gratitude. I grabbed a few words out of what you just said. And it actually ended up being kind of timely, as it turned out, because we made it all the way up to the studio last week and then did not follow through. And it was really good to just hold that thought for that extra week, which was a just undescribable type of week, thinking about Seth. And there's this buildup and this kind of tension as it was approaching a year. For so many reasons, I didn't want that much distance from the last time that I saw him. And then you feel like there's some type of marker or milestone that should happen, but it's undefined. So it can be very tricky. But it gave the week to focus, as we were kind of oriented towards thinking about gratitude, the many ways that I'm grateful for Seth, for the time I had with him during that time, and also now that what I continue to receive. And the thing about gratitude and giving and receiving, and then if you want to call it thanking, that completes that circle with gratitude, the thanking is the gratitude part, is it's what makes us human. And in that sense, to be human means that we stand together. And I had posted earlier that thing I wrote. Remember I told you I did not intend to post. I write a lot of things and I don't generally post them because I feel like I don't want to weigh down anybody's feeling or whatever, but you had me, you had encouraged me through a conversation to do it. So thanks for that. But ultimately, it did give me the punchline, if you want to call it that. That's a little weak for what I feel like it is. But in being human, it's that we belong together. And that's giving, receiving binds us, and then thanking just kind of solidifies it and packages that. What one person has, another does not. It's a cause to bring people together. And I appreciate, I'm grateful for need in that sense, just because that's the draw. And that's where we find places we fit with one another we would not think we do. And with time, that can evolve into a relationship that's kind of an introduction, and then with time it can form into a relationship that stands on its own and becomes about so much more, kind of like us.
Love it.
Thank you for what you said, and I'll get into a few things I had noted about what you said as we move along. But where are you at with gratitude? First, let it be said, it's no secret. Most people I know, including myself, say you're the most grateful guy they know. You're the most grateful guy I know. And I think that is a big source of your enthusiasm and your vitality. What do you say for yourself in that regard? Is that where it is, or you've been faking us?
So I have a benefit, and one of the benefits that I have, and I am grateful. I'm grateful because I've had, more than one close encounters with mortality.
Right.
And so I am grateful in that sense. And also, in order to be grateful, it's hard. It's hard to be grateful if you don't have a point of reference.
True.
So my life, unconventional in so many ways. I mean, I know intimately what hunger's like. I know I've got just an impossible relationship with poverty. And my point of reference for these things, and I'm even going to go as far as to say abandonment, in terms of, it as we go through, it'll come out. I don't want to dedicate this to that topic, but I mean, I do know what it's like to have, to be alienated. And this is not a woe is me, but it's more just sharing those little tidbits, because I mean, I know what the other side looks like. So, I mean, I know I'm constantly aware. And at times I even feel guilt, for having what I have in life. And so I am grateful. But when I talk about, like, when I think about relationship gratitude, and you're asking me, like, wow, what do you think? So I made a couple of notes, and it's like, is there anybody that doesn't just have a little bit more giddy up in their step? You walk a little bit more uprightly, a little bit more enthusiastically. Hair kind of falls into place. Your socks, they match first try.
That's
Traffic lights are timed better. At the mere notion that somebody appreciates us. Like, how strong is that? I mean, literally, a partner, a friend, a companion, just anybody we deal with, when somebody is grateful, it changes. I mean, this is not to be just overlooked. I mean, it really changes our day. And how many times have we seen memes, because memes are the new thing, about just smiling? Like, literally, a smile conveys the fact that you're grateful, whether it's a server, a barista, a mechanic, somebody bagging your groceries, and it's like, thank yous go a long way. I remember as a contractor, I made it a point to hand deliver checks. And I would tell people, staff, employees, I would tell them, I said, listen, you earn the money, but you have my gratitude. The money's just, you earn that. You earn that for being here. But my gratitude, you have my gratitude, because you make impossible projects possible. So, I think that's how I feel about gratitude, at least in a very, introductory way. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. The right there, I'll start with your end point, since it's the freshest in my mind, that you thank somebody and say, you can earn money, but you have my gratitude. It makes the difference between a true relationship, because I can't think of any relationship that can possibly survive without gratitude, except the one that is transactional. And that's only until the final transaction. But with gratitude, it perpetuates a whole lot more. And you had mentioned about having like that little bit of kick in your step, the enthusiasm when somebody acknowledges something that you have done. I can remember a time personally when I was so worn down. I was being a caregiver at the time for my father-in-law with dementia, and just tired, and a lot of struggles in the care, personal and otherwise, and a lot of it's something very difficult. You've done it too, to explain what it means to care for somebody else, and you do it because you want to, and you do it with everything that you have. But where does more come from when the care requires more than you have? And humans will always require more than other humans have, right? And towards the end, I was so tired that I could, like, even my thoughts weren't like very as cohesive as they should be or anything. And I hadn't said anything to many people. I just did it, and I didn't even realize at the time what it was. The obvious: I'm tired, my back hurts. I had gone days without sleeping, and then you had sent me a message, and it said, "Roses are red, violets are blue. You cook an egg for Appa at 3 a.m, and I love you." So this is such an important thing. I'm very weepy this week, like I told you, for people to realize gratitude has this really special ability that it does not even like fall into some kind of law that gratitude has to come from the right direction that you gave. It's just acknowledgement. It doesn't even have to be like from the one that you feel you're a benefactor to, because I remember that gave me enough to see that job through to its end. I don't know if do you remember this or no?
I do.
And
vividly.
I wept when I read that, because I didn't know that I was just on that little edge of weepiness or anything else. I'm pretty strong. I don't cry much in general. And when I saw it, I just cried, because I was like, oh. And when you get into that, you're like, that's that little release, that little break from the weight that I needed. Was like, I see you. That's it. And this is one of the things when we began this podcast, we spoke about when it comes to matters of the heart. A lot of times it just boils down to, I see you. And being seen is to be recognized. To be recognized is to be invited back into humanity, when a lot of times circumstances or our own feelings leave us feeling separated from that great communion that's going on.
I like where you're going with this. You know, I think when I'm gonna a little bit of a different approach here. I've had the luxury of looking after more than one person in their dotage.
Insert here, mine was a luxury also. I just was at the end. I'm just kidding. I'm being defensive.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I know. I'm joking.
I'm not challenging
totally
you.
Joking. I'm joking.
I too had the luxury of looking after 3 people
Mm-hmm.
that I can say, of course, our sister. That was a late call out. So much more I wish I could have done. Our father, so much more I wish I could have done. But when I was doing this, I was actually grateful, and I had a talk with my daughter not so long ago, and I said, there's something just impossibly rewarding about looking after somebody at the end.
Yes.
Because,
yes.
The funny part is everybody's likes it when it's fresh. Everybody comes around when it's a baby. Everybody comes around first steps. Everybody comes around first birthday, first words. And the truth is, it's kind of like opening up a book of blank pages. And yet at the end of time, that's when they are, that volume, that book is full.
Right.
And it's rich. And if you pick it up, if you stand in front of it, if you have a conversation, there is like impossible amounts of information when the book's been written. And I think I did have the last time I took care of somebody at this level, I actually had them living with us
Right.
for which was a unique experience, but for like 10 months, and that's a pledge I took as a fraternity member to help aid and assist widows and children, and I lived that out. I was happy to be able to do that. I mean, it was a pleasure to do it, although not easy. But at the time, it was just, I just remember every day I'd say, like, if I think I'm annoyed, because and there's things that were annoying, honestly, but if I think I'm annoyed, imagine how they must feel. Their awareness, their confrontation with mortality is different. I'm a spectator, helping at the last point, the last 10 months, but they're like holding on for everything they have, so even though they may not say it, because they've got more important things, they're trying to kind of, collate all the events of life, and kind of make sense of it in the final days. And like, we're very, very lucky. But I think if you kind of change that and you change it into the here and the now, and you talk about relationship gratitude, that's a different type of gratitude, but gratitude on a day-to-day basis. I think about my wife, and anybody who knows me, they would almost say I'm unrecognizable without her. And I told my wife that when we were first together, I said, I want to have a relationship where people are like, where's your wife? And they just see that it's just that's odd. It's crazy. Like, what are you doing without your other half? And it's like, and that's my way of expressing gratitude. Because I'm very grateful for her. I've said this, anybody who knows me has heard this. I have more than I ever expected in life, and I certainly have more than I deserve. And in my relationship, it couldn't be more true.
Amen.
But I think that there's a lot of ways in which we can express gratitude. I try to flirt with her and just always let her know that she still does it. She does it no less today. I probably do it a lot less for her, but she does it for me, and I'm grateful for that. So there was something you said the other day, and it was, as we kind of talked about it, and we just kind of skimmed over all the topics, and you were talking about habituation.
Was it when I said that you were being a little bit mean until the wifey was around, and then you became nice and gentle?
Okay, that wasn't it, but
okay. Sorry. Was it when I said you're better looking when she's with you?
Okay, you got way too many of these at your disposal.
Okay, let's get serious.
So it's actually when you were telling me, and I wrote it down.
Okay.
Because we have a diminished response to our partner's action over time.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a lot to do with gratitude. It's not that we're less grateful. It's just, it's familiar.
You're comfortable there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
When the extraordinary becomes ordinary, kind of not so extraordinary, And in the beginning, you meet someone, you're like, oh my God, look at this meal you made. 10 years down the road, you're just like, let's eat, And I'm not saying that we do that. I'm not being accusing or anything, but we do. And I think it's a very conscious effort that we have to make to to not just say thank you,
Right.
but to really express gratitude.
Yeah.
Because the danger here isn't the void or absence of gratitude in a relationship, but the void or absence of its declaration.
Right.
And I'm talking about a complete declaration. I mean, I'm talking about like a well understood conveyance. Like, this is why I like you. This is why I'm grateful. I wouldn't have clean clothes. And I wouldn't be motivated in the way that I am. And my wife is, I mean, my wife absolutely looks after me in a way that is foreign to this day. And we've been together forever. But she does look after me in a very, very special way. You are, I mean, I think if we go back to probably some of our earliest memories, and this is going to totally date us, but anybody young is not going to even understand what we're talking about. But what about G&H green stamps?
Mm-hmm.
Who remembers G&H green stamps?
I know
Filling
that,
up little
that's how I got my first Weeble Wobbles. If that's just making it worse, right?
Nobody knows what that is. What kind of platform did that game plug into? But it was an exchange. It was an exchange where you got stamps with your receipt, and you would take those stamps and fill up little books, and then you would exchange those little books, and it was for loyalty. But you mentioned the word contractual, not a contract. What did you say to me? You said
transactional.
Transactional.
Because you're talking about paying people.
So you buy, and for your loyalty, you get a little something back, and over time, you can exchange that for something that's more than just. I mean, even more. I mean, it's tangible. It's like, listen, we're going to give you a blender that you don't need, but we're grateful for your loyalty in shopping here. So much so that over time, I mean, we're definitely going to weigh it, and we're going to, but it's transactional. So I think that's, relationships are a co-op, where we have to offer up something. And that this is the part where I say there's something special at the end, and it's like, you definitely have to have an exchange.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm hearing here. Sorry to cut in, but I wanted to say this.
No, get in there.
Because you're saying about the habitual and saying thank you, and I think what you're kind of saying, and I feel the same about it, is that gratitude is best expressed in word and deed. So we have to. It's also a kind of active gratitude that we should have for one another. So, because we can say thank you, we can send thank you notes, it doesn't convey the same as our behavior, our choices, our concrete actions. The other thing I wanted to say, because you were talking about caring for people, and then also that Joanne does so much for you as a wife, and how much you appreciate it. One of the things that I've noticed about her, and that I noticed in your caregiving when you have been there to really help people take that, or at least approach the final threshold, is that it's done. The person that was giving, in the case of you, and also for Joanne, it's not coming from a place of superiority from the person that's doing the giving, and that makes the gratitude really possible, because it only exists in this relationship of the voluntary. That's why now when you said transactional, that's why that just isn't the same, right? So you get the stamps, but that's apart from the transaction. What you do with them, take them or don't, or consider it a smart gimmick, that also has everything to do with your capacity to see things for what they are, or how you interpret the world. That's about that person, but I do think that it has to be voluntary, and I do think the highest form of gratitude has some action behind it. Most of the time. There's nothing wrong with a good thank you too and just a word. Right?
Yeah, I think, I think, I think you're right. I mean, yeah, something about that willingness that you're saying that, that's
Can I
it's
tell you a
huge.
story? I'm gonna try. This might be a real big stretch, but I trust your ability to stretch with me. That I had heard or read or something, who knows where I got it from. Their point was not gratitude, but I'm feeling a sense of it here in how gratitude can change the whole like heartfelt experience of the person expressing gratitude as well. I mean, it can change your life, it can change your death. And I stand by this because of my relationship with Seth and because we're talking a lot about the end of life here. There were two Jewish men in a concentration camp. And this was told by fellow prisoners, who did survive. And one was a rabbi, so an authority in matters of spirituality and whatnot, and the other was just a layman. And the rabbi had been so faithful to God his whole life. This was his service, his heart. And when he was in the concentration camp, rightly so, I'm not questioning this, but he could not understand, how did this come to be that we have been a loyal people, we have been a chosen people, we have done so much. How can he let this happen? Why won't he save us? If there is a God, we will be saved before this happens. And he held to that till the very end, which ended in a gas chamber. And so he went to the gas chamber, throwing his arms up and saying, God's answered, like, he does not choose me and I do not choose him. Okay. Now the layman had said the exact same words as this guy. This is so terrible. But for this, he said, if there is a God, he will release us from this. Same thing all the way on his walk. And then when he saw where he was headed to that gas chamber, he said instead, God has provided the release from this. I am so grateful he did choose for me as I've been asking. And he walked in with that different perspective. Can you imagine what that could mean your last 3 steps? For what it's worth. And like I said, the point of it was never about gratitude, but I feel like it can be framed in this way, right?
It's funny because when you say that, we're talking about gratitude, and gratitude, like our next conversation, probably should be about perception.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
how many times have we
tremendous to
heard?
me. It breaks my heart that guy would think going in there, right? Because of his capacity to hold gratitude. It's so big to me. That's why I remember it.
Right. Perception is that's like the natural order of this conversation. I
Tell me about
feel.
perception with gratitude then, like what you're thinking about it. And we'll kind of finish on that to head towards next time.
Thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yeah. Well, one felt the answer was no, and one felt the answer was yes, right? He was like,
That's my
100%
point.
God's
But
answering me today. It's just beautiful to me.
so I think what I'm getting at is that it's like perception. Like
Oh yeah,
at
like
the
Garth
time.
Brooks. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes,
The
I just
time,
got it. Sorry. Yeah.
right.
Yes.
At the time, you're like, oh my God, live, whatever, figure out the relationship or this or that, and yet it ends.
Yeah.
And then something more wonderful is introduced into your life, and now you're like, oh my God, thank God for unanswered prayers, because there was something bigger, something better, something, and without, I'm always uncomfortable getting into these, just very, very deep, and I don't want to ever challenge anybody's relationship with deity.
No,
But
it's all of us as we are. This is where I am today. There's no accounting for
right,
who I'll be tomorrow.
Right, but I am, so I just say that because we're saying like, oh, thank God.
Oh, right,
But it's
right.
like, a lot of times, just say young people with their parents, and their parents are the authoritative figure, and they're like, no, that's not good for you, or and we keep them, and then how many times, something bad happened, and they were at home stomping around their room, tearing up paper and whatever, and then they find out the next day that something tragic happened, and their parents kept them from it. And so it's like that perception. And the problem is that a lot of times we're on the other side of it. I always tell my daughter, I said, there's no substitute for experience.
Right.
So a lot of times it's difficult because, it's hard to be grateful. Like in the beginning of this conversation, it's hard to be grateful if you don't have a point of reference.
Right. Without a vision of that end, uh, it either takes imagination to be grateful, what that end might be, or it takes faith. And again, this is not even in the religious sense, like you were saying, but just faith in your parents, faith in another human. One of my favorite songs is "Have a Little Faith in Me." Have you heard that song?
I'm sure I have.
It's just beautiful. And I always think, to me, when another human, I'm getting emotional because I'm playing the song in my head, has some faith in you. And I think I don't know why you're a tremendously strong person. So I kind of feel bad for you, because a lot of times the version of gratitude you get from your sisters, and even me, your twin, and I love you so much and appreciate you, but the version of gratitude you get from us often is when we've exhausted everything, and then we're like, I know Leroy will come through, and it's
Yeah.
like a faith in you, but it's like that's the gratitude also, because we also will have a sense of, oh boy, this is where it's at. But I think having faith in another person is good gratitude too.
So we're gonna have to put a bow on this. And
Okay.
there's one thing that I wanted to. In the beginning, I said I got a little treat for you for
Oh,
the
right.
end,
Uh-huh.
and so I wanted to share something. And again, all of this, use it as you will. Even if you say, "Man, those twins are crazy,"
Oh, we know
that's
that.
okay.
Yeah, we got it.
That's okay. Use it that way. But this is a little something to consider. Our ability to identify and appreciate another person's gratitude is neatly aligned with our own gratitude. Play that back. Our ability to appreciate others' gratitude is neatly aligned with our own gratitude. If we're ungrateful, we're going to feel like nobody's grateful for us,
Oh, yeah. I just
because
got
we
that.
don't know what that looks like. But if we're grateful, we'll spot it in everything. And people say, "Leroy, you have a lot of gratitude." And the truth is, I am. And that's why I am, because I know that other people appreciate me for weird things. But whatever my influence is, sometimes
Right.
good, sometimes bad, but there's gratitude. But we have to be grateful ourselves in order to see it around us.
Yes. Yep. I agree 100%. And I should just finish with saying how grateful I am for you, just profoundly grateful.
Everybody who's listened today, we're in a relationship, and we are grateful for you listening.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Strong Island.
Absolutely.
Thank you for hosting us. And
Grateful for
we
you,
look
Bobby.
forward to having another episode next.